Hi from around the world out there. Welcome to All About Online Learning at Niagara College. I'm going to give a little bit more time for some more of our attendees to come join us in the session right now. We're hitting at about 130 right now with probably another 50 or 60 to go. So I'll give them a few more minutes to be able to check into the session. But in the meantime, we're just going to do a quick round to be able to introduce everybody. And so I'm just going to call out each of our participants' names, and if they can state who they are, what their position is, and how they're supporting the seminar today. So if you're a panelist, please state that you're a panelist. If you're helping out with Q&As, be sure to make sure that you're indicating that as well. So first on the list is Linda Root.
Hi, everybody. I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Media Studies, and along with a couple of my colleagues today, we're going to be talking about academics at Niagara College and how you can be successful online.
Fantastic. Thank you, Linda. Thanks for joining us today. Justin.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Justin Williams. I'm the Dean of Business and Tourism, and I'm here working with Linda and Damien to support and talk a little bit about online learning and how we can help you be successful over the next term.
Thank you, Justin. And Gordana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gordana Vitez. I'm the manager of the Library and Learning Commons for Niagara College, and I'm here as a panelist to help you understand about the online supports that we offer in order to make your learning experience just that much better here at Niagara College.
Thanks, Gordana. And Damien.
Hello, everybody. My name is Damien Goulburn. I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Hospitality, Tourism, and Sports. I'll be joining Linda and Justin as we walk through a presentation and work to demonstrate how we're going to support you as you embrace your learning at our college in an online setting this fall. Thanks for joining us.
I like that, embracing the setting. Absolutely. John, let's say John Levy.
Hello, I'm John Levy, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer, and I'm here mostly for questions and answers because the other John that you're about to meet is going to be doing some demos afterwards.
Thanks, John. And the other John.
Hi, I'm John Hilbing. I'm the Associate Director of Client Support Services. And as my boss, John, had mentioned, we have a couple demos set up to show you how you can access some of the college software and lab computers that you may need through your term here.
Fantastic. Thanks, John. And maybe one of the most knowledgeable guys in the room, Paul.
Oh, no
had to put you on this.
Thanks,
had to put you on the spot there, Paul.
That's all right. Hello, everybody. Hello. My name's Paul Kelly. I'm an international student advisor. I work typically at the Welland campus when we're on campus. I'm also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I'm here to help with the question and answers and the chat and support everyone else who's on the meeting today.
Thanks, Paul. Joanne.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon to all of you around the world. Thanks for joining us. My name's Joanne. I'm the Regional Manager for South Asia, and I'm going to be in the background supporting some Q&A.
Fantastic. Thanks, Joanne. Fernando.
So hello, everyone. My name is Fernando Gama. I'm the Regional Manager for the Americas and the Caribbean, and I'll be primarily supporting students asking questions in Spanish and Portuguese. So if you have any questions, pop them down in the Q&A, and I'll be here in the background helping you out. Enjoy the session.
And Fernando, don't you have a couple people here to help you today?
I do. We have a wonderful team from the Americas. So Derek Gaudet and Camila Secon. Derek, our Colombo Canadienses, are Canadian living in Colombia that speaks amazing Spanish. And Camila, our Brazilian rep, they're both Niagara College graduates, as myself. And we're all going to be helping you guys with the questions today.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Matthew. Hey, Matt. You're on mute, Matt. I can't believe you haven't figured that out yet. Come on. Come on.
I have figured it out.
50th Zoom session.
Early morning start. 50th. Anyways, my name is Matthew Merwa. I'm the regional manager from the Middle East right over to Russia. Be happy to take any questions today. We also have Svetlana with us who speaks Russian and Ukrainian, and she can help you as well.
Great, thank you. And we also have James. Hi, James. I know it's early morning, but do you want to pop on and say hi? We're all settled in the
Hi.
office now.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is James Maurer. I'm the regional manager for East Asia. I'll be here, like a lot of people, just for support, some question and answers. With me today, I believe Bella has entered the room, and Bella is from Mongolia, so she can answer questions in Mongolian as well. Thank you.
Thanks, James. And also for those of you who don't know, James is fluent in Chinese and can certainly respond to your questions in Chinese if you need to. And then we have Eric Jin. Hello, Mr. Eric, most popular guy on the internet.
Good morning, everybody, and good evening or good afternoon. My name is Eric Chen. I'm regional manager, Southeast Asia, including Japan and South Korea. Also, of course, I will answer as much as possible. I can speak Korean. Also, we have Miss June and Miss Jade, and from Vietnam. Also, Miss Divine Lacuna. She's from also Philippines. So, if you have any question, we'll totally supporting answer today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Eric. So we'll be able to respond to questions in Tagalog and Vietnamese as well as Korean as well if you do have those questions in those languages and are more comfortable that way. A quick shout out to Shauna Louie, our Associate Director of International Student Services, who's also here with us today to observe, but also to be able to assist with questions when needed. All right, guys, so I will kick the session off. And really exciting session here today. I see we've got about 170 people checked in to be able to find out about how Niagara College is going to support your online learning experience. And really, I think the goal of today is to be able to provide many of our incoming students, but also just anyone out there who's really unsure about what online learning looks like at post-secondary institutions in Canada, and more specifically at Niagara College, because we're always a little bit unique. We really want to be able to give you that experience, that reassurance, so that you know how you're going to be supported and how you're going to be successful. And we have those services available, not just embedded within our academic areas, but also heavily supported by our library services and our IT department and throughout our student services across the college. So without further ado, I think I'll kick it off and turn it over to the All-Stars, Linda Root, Damian Goulburn, and Justin Williams, to be able to start off with a little bit about what you can expect in the classroom and from your teachers and from your academic areas and supports. So without further ado, I'm going to chime off and turn it over to you guys.
Fantastic. Howard, thank you so much for a very warm welcome. Damian and Linda and I are very, very pleased to be here. We've already introduced ourselves, but I can just reintroduce ourselves. I'm the Dean for Business, Hospitality, Tourism, and Sport. We have Linda Root, who's the Associate Dean for the School of Media Studies. And then we have Damian. Damian is the Associate Dean for the School of Hospitality, Tourism, and Sport. So the three of us today are going to talk a little bit about some of the supports that the academic areas have. And how we can support you, and also talk a little bit about some of the preparation that we've undergone over the past little while to support you and help you be successful in your learning. This is a very unique semester. As you obviously know, COVID has a significant impact in terms of how we deliver our programs. So it is very unique. We're very much looking forward to getting back to campus. But we wanted to share with you some of the things that our faculty and associate deans have been working on that will help you be successful. Online learning and virtual learning is not new for us. We've been doing it for quite a long time. So I want you to know, and I want you to feel comfortable knowing that really we are specialists, we are experts on virtual learning. We've had a lot of time to provide support and to hone the learning experience online. Is it the same? No, not entirely, but there are some significant advantages to learning this way, as you're about to find out. So today's agenda, as you can see here, we're going to talk a little bit about online learning. We're going to talk as well and unpack what those two words that you will hear quite a lot, asynchronous versus synchronous delivery. We're going to talk about what that actually means. We're also going to provide you with some very important course startup information. I know as a a father, because my son is coming to Niagara College in September as well, I have been able to go through and work with my son and see what it's like to prepare yourself to get online and to register. And there's a lot of information out there. And so what we want to do today is really help set you up and help you to navigate through that information so that you know what you need to do to get started and to get set up. The other thing we're going to talk today a little bit about is around technology. So you may have questions around what type of technology you need. And today we're going to try and help you understand what technology will help you and support you in your learning. The other thing we're going to talk a bit is about textbooks. So I know there's been a lot of discussion around textbooks. How do I get my text? How do I get a text from Canada to somewhere else in the world? Is that necessary? So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. Okay. And then the last thing is we're going to open it up to your questions. So I'm going to suggest that you put your questions in the text box down below, type in your questions, and then we'll answer them as they come up. But before I hand it over to my colleagues for the next slide, I just want to welcome you to Niagara College. We're so happy to have you join us. It's a virtual semester. It's definitely a different semester, but that doesn't mean that it can't be a really positive and exciting semester. This is a very important step in your careers, and it really starts now. Over to you, Linda and Damien.
Super. So I'm going to start off talking about the difference between being online and doing an in-class delivery. So, you know, how do you find success? And when I was thinking about this presentation, I was thinking about what does it take for a student to be successful? And you know, it's very reassuring. You already have the skills to be successful. The same sort of skills that you require for a traditional face-to-face kind of schooling, same sort of skills you need here. And I think you'll see that as I go through this slide. So the first thing that's really important is that you be positive. So we want you to pick a program that you're really interested in. And that will help you enjoy, obviously, your experience at Niagara College. We want you to think about how am I going to make this work, as opposed to thinking, well, how in the world is this going to work? And that's really the attitude that all of our faculty and staff at Niagara College have. So we're always asking ourselves, how can we make this the best experience possible? And the end of the winter term, we delivered it online, and our faculty have come up with all sorts of creative ways to make this a really good experience for you. It's really important that you understand the expectations of each of your courses. So you may be familiar with the word syllabus. So each course has a syllabus. Well, at Niagara College, we have a course outline, and the course outline will tell you what you're going to learn in the term in that particular course. And then we have something called a teaching and learning plan. And a teaching and learning plan is a week-by-week explanation of what you're going to learn and how you're going to learn it. So it's very important that at the beginning of the term, you go in and you read those documents. That will tell you what's going to happen course by course, week to week. And that'll help you feel comfortable with what's going on and to map out your term. Now, you also need to understand things in your course, like if there's videos posted, should I be watching those videos before the week starts or before the class starts? Should I be watching them after the week? So your teachers will let you know that, and your teachers will let you know, well, when am I going to be able to speak with the teacher one-on-one, for example. So you need to familiarize yourself with how each of your courses are going to operate. And each course might be a little bit different depending on the content of the course itself. I don't want you to be shy about communicating and participating in an online delivery of a course. Everybody is a little shy when they're working through Zoom or some sort of virtual environment like Discord. So that's something that we learned early, is that if you ask the students, are there any questions when you're on Zoom, they're like, no, please don't make me talk. But we really want you to feel comfortable. Everybody is in the same boat as you. So don't be afraid to communicate with your profs, to participate in class. There'll be opportunities for you to speak with your peers in the class. Sometimes there'll be opportunities to give your opinion on a topic being presented in class. There'll be chances to speak one-on-one with your prof in some situations. You'll also have discussion boards in some of your courses, so you'll be able to type questions. And don't be afraid about bad grammar. Everybody has bad grammar sometimes. We want you to type away and participate as much as you can in the courses. Now, concerns that people have, first of all, technical issues. And John Hilbing is going to tell you about a couple of technical resources we have to make sure that you have a good learning experience from a technical viewpoint. So he's going to talk about Apps Anywhere, which is an application that will allow you to download the software you need for your courses right onto your machine, so that you have the tools that you need for each particular course. He's also going to talk about remote access into our computers. So if you have problems with your own personal computer running the software, you're going to be able to remote into our machines and use our machines on campus. And that will help out with some technical issues for sure. But there are other things that you might be able to do to overcome some technical issues. So one that we've discovered, for example, is some people have a slower internet connection. So in that case, our students actually submit their projects before they go to bed. So it might take a few hours to upload their project, but it's okay. They're sleeping and they get up in the morning, they double check that it's gone through okay, and then they move on. Likewise, if there are long videos for you to watch, you could download those before you go to bed. So it's really just getting a system in place that works for you and your particular internet peculiarities. You've got to avoid distractions, and one common distraction is multitasking. So you're in your home and you think, well, I'll just have my phone here and I'll be doing some chatting and I'll have my music on and I'll listen to some music and I'll do class. Well, no. Try to focus directly on your class, and that's it. You also want to find a spot in your house where you can get a little peace and quiet, if that's possible. And the last thing to avoid is poor time management. So we have a saying, out of sight, out of mind. And sometimes if your classes are online, you can kind of forget that you have an assignment due, for example. And to avoid that, you need to be making yourself a schedule and following that schedule. So you know, you look, in addition to, say, attending some synchronous courses, you need to block out time on Monday. I'm going to do course X. On Tuesday, I'm going to do course Y. On Wednesday, I have to hand this in. So you want to make sure that you're managing your time. The last point I have is that if you're having problems, please tell us. We want to know. We know that students have questions, whether it's an online delivery or a face-to-face delivery, and we want those questions. We want to help you be successful, because that's when we're successful. Damien, I'm going to throw it over to you for your thoughts on online versus in-class delivery.
Thanks, Linda. Appreciate you walking through these points. I'll talk a little bit more about the staying positive, staying motivated piece, as it kind of sets the stage for everything that's there. But before I do, we are, just everyone that's on this session, we are watching the Q&A. I'm reading them as Linda was speaking. I can tell you that every single question that's listed is actually going to be answered in the presentation. So stay tuned every step of the way. Howard has walked through all the people that are with you today that will be answering your questions. I know a few people in the chat have asked the same question a few times. There's a detailed answer that's going to be coming to you. There's some really talented people around you right now that are going to be able to support you. I'm saying this for a reason. This is the way we behave at Niagara College, and this is what you would experience when you came to class. So this is what I've been at the college for a while now, and this is what happens on the first day of classes. You walk into class, teacher welcomes you, and you find a seat somewhere in the room. That becomes the seat that you sit in for the entire semester. And those people that are sitting around with you end up becoming your social network in that class. And we are going to do everything we can this fall to replicate that online, so that that community that you're a part of when you come to Niagara College on the first day and the first week and the first month and the first semester is replicated online. The people that are on this call with you right now are going to be surrounding you, supporting you. The teachers understand the curriculum. They're all talented people. They know how to teach online. I've seen some questions already about recordings. We're going to get to that, but the answer is yes. We talk about synchronous and asynchronous. We're going to give you the support you need. Linda talked about interacting with the content, and she mentioned 3 ways to interact with the content. The success you find in class is the exact same way you find success online. It's actually called the forgetting curve. And if you interact with content 3 times, if you can believe this, an hour after learning something, you only remember 40% of that content. If you interact with that content before class, during class, after class, it jumps between 60 and 90%, whether you are in class or online. Those excellent study habits where you prepare before you come to class, you're engaged in class, you follow up after class, allows you to retain the knowledge. Same skill set, whether you're in class or online. And so the community that we've built around you is to support teachers and to support you. And the points that Linda brought up, I don't really have to repeat them because I think they're there on the screen, but behind the words is a screenshot of our learning management system, which is Blackboard. And right there is, if you can look at it, is actually a reminder about your assignments and tests. Because we understand one of the biggest hurdle when it comes to online learning is managing your time and multiple courses with multiple due dates and classes. So our teachers are going to be proactive and communicate with you and remind you of those dates, but you've got to own it. Whether it be in class or online, you got to own it, and you got to take control of your education and actively engage in the tools and the processes that we built for you. And all these people that are online with you, we're going to be here to support you, just as we are over the next hour and a half when we answer all your questions when you become a student at our college. So I think I'll just end it there and see if Justin has anything else to add before we go to the next slide.
No, but I agree 100% with everything you said, Damien. And you're right. This even though it's virtual, I shouldn't say even though, but because it's virtual, it really requires the same level of dedication as if you were here on campus. Go to your classes, get interactive, ask questions. Even if it's through email, it's fine, but be engaged in your learning. It's really important that you put the time into your classes. Some things that work really well are setting aside time every day. I know time management has come up a couple of times, but you're right. I mean, we need to definitely make sure that we're putting some structures around how we're interacting online, but also that how we're structuring our days to ensure that we're, coming to class, that we're attending the classes, but that we're also doing some of the background work. We're doing some of the readings that may come up. We're working on some of the projects and spending that time outside of that block where you may be watching the classes. So it's really important that you invest that time. I'm going to pass it over to, I think, is it now to Linda?
No, this would be Damien.
Oh, this is Damien. Okay, Damien, back to you.
All right, everyone. Asynchronous and synchronous. What's the difference? So these are some technical terms. And if I want to draw your attention to the top right-hand corner of your screen where it talks about what is synchronous and asynchronous. And I really want to talk about it simply so that it becomes practical and you can apply this knowledge. The intent is for that if you are a first semester student coming to Niagara College for the first time, international, domestic, doesn't matter. We are going to focus on delivery, which is asynchronous. And if you take a look at that, it's students learn at different times. So whether you were here in Canada in a community like Welland or you were in Vancouver, you have a time change. If you're somewhere else in the world, there's a time change. The way we've structured asynchronous is that the teacher will not look at a class time of 3 hours on Monday from 8:30 to 11:30. They're looking at the entire 7 days. And they will give you information over that week through a process that allows you to read, consume the presentation if there's a presentation, apply it through some type of practical activity, and then if it's for marks, submit it. And Linda talked a little bit about some of the more robust evaluations that are large files that you would submit. We are within our Blackboard system. We do have ways for you to submit assignments. So all that system is there for you. All you need to do is follow the processes that each teacher is going to walk you through on the very first day. And teachers will communicate with you. As soon as you pick your calendar, then you are a student. If it's asynchronous, there actually is no timetable. Each teacher will dictate to you how they're going to teach their course. And typically you have 6 courses. So don't be concerned that I don't have my timetable, because if it's asynchronous, and it's all 7 days, it's not about being in class from Monday from 8:30 to 11:30. But teachers within that may use synchronous. So for example, a teacher may decide that the content that they're delivering this week is so important that they need to engage with you live. And if you take a look on that screen, it talks about communication in real time. So they're going to say to everybody, okay, you know what? At 9 o'clock on Wednesday, I'm going to be talking for 45 minutes about this content. But what they're going to do, because we understand that people are local and also international, they're going to record that. And they're going to post that onto Blackboard. So if by chance you can't be there at that time, you'll be able to watch the recording. And that's another, remember I talked about the forgetting curve and interacting with content. The benefit of what you're going to go through this semester of being virtual is that you can watch that class over and over again. In a traditional environment, you go into class, you're there, you get the content, you leave. There is no recording. But in the online environment, you can watch that over and over again so that you can grasp that concept. All right, so those recordings will be placed online. So if you start thinking about asynchronous as, okay, I've got the whole week, there's more flexibility, the teacher's gonna walk me through a plan, it allows you to actually take control of the learning. And I think something that Justin and Linda spoke about setting time aside in your day, in your week, where you're gonna interact with each course. Synchronous is something that is real time, on a certain day, at a certain time of the day. And each teacher will probably be using some elements of that, but don't worry if something happens in your life or you have a job or just technology goes down at that moment, because we will be recording everything and placing it on Blackboard so you can go back and watch it. So the difference between synchronous and asynchronous, synchronous is real time, asynchronous is not in real time. And your teacher's norm will be asynchronous with some isolated opportunities for synchronous if you are learning online. If you're a student who's required to come on campus, because your program is going to be delivered on campus, some of you, I've noticed that in the chat, then you will be having a schedule. And there will be classes that you'll have to attend. I'm responsible for the esthetician program. So our labs, students have to be here. And they're going to be in the lab. But the theory courses are online. So you'll have some online courses for theory, which minimizes your interaction in the classroom because we're trying to create this really safe environment for you, because that's what we're all doing here about synchronous and asynchronous. It's about COVID-19 and creating that healthy and safe environment for all of you. You'll see that on your schedule. The other piece of the puzzle, before I wrap this one up, is you're seeing Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. That is actually the platform that is embedded within our learning management system, which is Blackboard. And for most of you, you probably have not interacted with that before. So support services, student services, has worked on videos and handouts to help you understand Blackboard. Our teachers are talented. They're working on tools that can help you understand how to get used to our system. Because I've noticed in the chat, a few people go, well, if this hybrid isn't working, can I walk away? For my course, I'll let my peers answer that question, because we do have certain times and deadlines of when you can make a different choice. But understand that in the first week or two, we're going to give you all the tools you need to understand how to adapt to our learning management system so that you can find success. But the key here is you got to go to those first classes. And when I say classes, it's virtual, it may be in real time, it may be posted. And I think Linda already mentioned, watch the videos, engage. If you can engage, you're going to get all the tools you need to be successful. So hopefully I answered asynchronous versus synchronous, and that you got to understand that synchronous is real time, asynchronous is at different times, and asynchronous is the mode that we're going to use to create maximum flexibility for our students and teachers this fall with level 1 classes.
So if I can just jump in and just adding to Damien's point, just a couple points. So I noticed in the chat room, there's a couple questions around timetables and things like that. So when you go in and you register your NC username, and I know there's going to be some more technical support in a minute, and you go in to select your timetable, some students, when you go in, if it's asynchronously delivered, you won't see a schedule. You'll just log in and select a block. And when the block comes up, you won't see a class of schedule of classes. That's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be done. So that means that all of your programming, so for example, level 1 business, is delivered asynchronously. That means that all of it will be recorded, like Damien was mentioning, so that you can go back, you can watch the videos. You don't have to attend at a specific time. We recognize that many of you are coming from different time zones or studying from different time zones. So this is actually a great tool, because it means that you're able to go in, watch the videos at your own time. So don't be surprised when you go into login again and select your timetable. You won't see a timetable. That's okay. That just means the delivery will be asynchronous. The other thing, I think we are going to talk a little bit about your orientation sessions, which are coming up. Very, very important, because that will help, because I know there's questions about textbooks and questions about what the courses are going to look like. Your program coordinators at those orientation sessions will be providing a lot of that information to you. So you'll be able to ask those questions and to get a much better idea of what it's going to look like over the next semester. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to you guys.
Okay, just before we go on to the next slide, I wanted to mention that Blackboard Collaborate Ultra experience here. What does that actually mean? That's kind of like Zoom built into Blackboard, and that's what some of your teachers are going to be using to communicate with you and to provide interactive content. And I also wanted to mention, as far as schedules go, in media, even for our programs like game development or graphic design that are totally online, we do have some actual scheduled blocks that you'll see. So you might pick intro to Photoshop, and it's Tuesdays 8:30 to 11:30. You pick that block. The teacher is going to be available in that time, but if you're sleeping because you're on the other side of the world, that's okay. We will also provide you the asynchronous content so that you can follow that course like like somebody who's in Canada and is up at 8:30. So don't worry about that. And if you need to communicate one-on-one with that teacher, you just let them know that, and we'll make sure that there's times when the teacher will speak with you one-on-one. So say 6 o'clock at night. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about important information around our course startup. So the first thing is your international student advisor, y'all met Paul Kelly, for example, who's on this call, will be your primary contact. So these people are invaluable to you as international students. They are your starting point. They may not have all the answers, but they can help you with where to find the answer. So if you've got visa questions, you have questions about your academics, you have questions about how to get a tutor, how do I access the library information, all this stuff, they're a great starting point for you. All our level 1 courses, and by the way, level 1 means your first term of learning. All our level 1 courses will be asynchronous and maybe have some synchronous learning in it, as Damien discussed earlier. Blackboard, you can see on the other side of the screen, there's Blackboard tools. So Blackboard is our way of communicating with you as students. And essentially, every course has a website, a Blackboard website. And within that website, you can do all of the communicating that you require. So Blackboard has an announcement feature, for example. So if your teacher wants to share something with the class or announce that there's a test next week, they'll post an announcement that gets broadcast to you. The teacher will put in the week-to-week teaching plan and all of the resources. Maybe there's a PDF and a video and a PowerPoint that you're required to use that week. That will be in Blackboard for you to find. Let's say you have to hand in an assignment. There'll be a space in Blackboard where you hand in your assignment. Let's say you want to know your grades. You want to know how you did in that assignment. There's a space in Blackboard where you can check your grades called the grade book. So there's also email function built into Blackboard. So that will allow you to email your peers in the class, as well as, say, your other group members, as well as your teacher. And then there's more sophisticated tools in there, like Blackboard Collaborate, which is, again, kind of like doing a Zoom lesson, only within Blackboard. So you'll learn Blackboard. It's quite intuitive, but you'll learn it as you go. It's not a very steep learning curve, and it's a great tool. Justin mentioned it's really, really important for you to attend your program orientation sessions. They'll be on Tuesday, September 8th. The time and a link to the virtual sessions are available on the Niagara College website. You can Google it to find them. You can ask your international student advisor. You can go into Blackboard and ask your coordinator, or ask one of the faculty in your Blackboard courses. Lots of ways to find that information. Okay, Damien, Justin, anything to add?
No, I think you did a great job. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's, Justin, do you want to talk a little bit about technology?
Yeah, so I'm aware that this, I'll be brief because I've been informed we're moving a little bit past our time, but yeah. So obviously technology requirements are key for your success. This is a virtual learning environment, so it's important that you have the tools that you need to survive and to prosper and do well. in your online learning experience. So a couple questions we've had: do you need a webcam and a mic and Zoom and Wi-Fi? Well, you absolutely do need a laptop or a tablet. It doesn't have to be brand new, but certainly having some laptop will help you. It's the absolutely the best way, and probably you won't be able to do it on a mobile device, but through a computer, laptop, to be able to get on and engage with Blackboard and actually view your classes. So yes, a laptop is mandatory. And it really helps if you have a microphone and a camera. This will allow you to participate and to ask questions. If there is a synchronous component to the course, it'll give you an opportunity to meet and interact with some of your peers. I want to stress, even though you're in a virtual learning environment, it's still really important that you're meeting, contributing, and chatting with your fellow students. The quality of your experience will very much depend on the relationships that you build. And even though it's online, it's very, very important that you engage with your professor and with your fellow students. You'll also need, obviously, you need Wi-Fi access, and this will allow you to get into your Blackboard sessions. We already saw Blackboard Collaborate. That is one of our primary ways for interacting online. We also will use MS Teams. MS Teams is something that you'll find very interactive. It's a little bit like Zoom, but it's a way we can hold meetings and do more online activities as well as Zoom. So all of those are really useful for you, and certainly you definitely need to make sure that you have a laptop or a desktop computer. Damien, Linda, anything else there? Howard?
Well, guys, that was fantastic. Thank you. And I do want to be able to address something very quickly about Zoom. We do have students in China that currently don't have access to Zoom. Of course, you may be able to access this through our Facebook live feeds or through VPNs or anything like that within China. But we are actively working on solutions, and John Levy and John Hilbing will be talking about that in our next session, or our next part of this session, about technology requirements. But also, if you find that teachers are using Zoom, please make sure that if you're in China or in a location that does not allow for certain software to be used, that you're communicating that with your professors and with your classmates, so that you can make sure that you settle on a medium that can be used, that you can access. And we're very flexible, and we're here to support you, so don't think that you can't make that ask of your professors. You certainly can, and our professors are here for you. So just keep that in mind, and please don't be shy about it. Frequently, we don't always know between the many countries around the world that have access to different types of software and don't have access, and sometimes those things change and we're not aware of them. So do make sure that you're communicating with your professors quite frequently. All right, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate that. And of course, we'll have our academic areas here online, being able to respond to questions in the Q&A section at the end of the presentations. But for now, I'd really like to be able to call up Gordana Vitez, John Levy, and John Hilbing. Hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Can we do a quick reintroduction of yourselves to talk, just so that people are familiar with who you are and what it is that you're going to be talking about today? Let's start with Gordana.
Hi, my name's Gordana, and Gordana Vitez, I should say, and I'm the manager of the Library and Learning Commons, and I'm going to be talking about the library services and supports that we offer for your online learning experience.
Wonderful, thank you. And John Levy.
Yes, I'm John Levy, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer and kind of the head of IT at the college.
Thanks, John. And John Hilbing.
Hi, I'm John Hilbing. I'm the Associate Director of Client Support Services, and I'm here to give you a bit of a demo on some of our remote access to labs and software.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think we'll probably kick it off a little bit with Gordana to be able to talk about some of the different services and ways that our library support system is set up to be able to support students in an online learning environment and how you'll be able to access some of those tools. And then we'll transition over to John and John to be able to talk about the different types of technology that is being used, how you're going to access it, and where you can get ongoing technology support. So Gordana, if you're okay, I can turn it over to you.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I actually am just going to show you the library's website because I think that's the best way to illustrate what we offer to you. The first thing I wanted to share with you, though, is a little bit personal. I just wanted to let you know that I did my entire master's online, and I understand your trepidation, your worry about going into an online learning environment. So even though we've switched over to online learning because of COVID-19, online learning isn't a new thing. A lot of these processes that we're using are very much tried and true. The software is not just brand new, it's stuff that works. And trust me, you can develop friendships, you can develop relationships that will carry on. I graduated with my master's in 2014. I'm still great friends with a friend in Korea who I met online and another in California. So these relationships will last. This is a good learning experience. And I know, working with these faculty members for 20 years at Niagara College now, they do everything they can to make sure that you make those connections, that you develop these relationships, and that you understand what's going on in the classroom. So, and part of that is the working relationship that we have with faculty, with ITS, but by providing you the services in the Library and Learning Commons. So this is the library website, and what I want you to take away from this session, if nothing else about the library, is where to find it. So essentially all you need to do is Google Niagara College Library and you will get here. This is where we've put everything. So it's all in one spot, all of those supports that you need for your learning. So the very first thing, you've got it now, Google Niagara College Library, and that'll get you here. We offer supports not only in terms of the library, but also peer tutoring and our academic drop-in sessions. The most important thing, I think, for starting out at Niagara College is that you might not know what kind of help you need. So what we want to engage you with is with our chat. So right on the left-hand or right-hand side, we have chat. You can click on it, you can text to chat. In addition, we have a video chat. So the video is used via Collaborate. So it's something you're going to be using in your courses. We're not using anything different. You're doing something that you will be using when you're talking to your other students, your fellow students, and your faculty. So this is all stuff that you're going to be using regularly. The chat is literally just a simple text chat, but we've provided the video chat to give you that connection so you can see what we look like, so you can talk to us, so we can screen share and show you exactly what we're doing. So it's up to you which you prefer to use. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is right in the center of the website. It's called Online Learning Supports. So we've done this two ways for you. If you're the kind of person that says, I need help with a specific thing and you just want to get to it right away, we have just a simple list of resources here to help you through all the different things you might need. So whether it's tech information, your ID card, how do I get it, timetables, etc., it's all here. If you're the kind of person who needs to really go through things methodically, we also have a textbook that we've created. It's called the Niagara College Libraries and Learning Commons Online Learning Support Handbook. That's one heck of a title, but you can literally go through it chapter by chapter and learn what you need to know to be an online student at Niagara College. So depending on your preference, we've got the method that will work for you. The other thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is our subject guides. So everybody's in a different program area, and trust me, you're going to want to get the information that is specific to your area. You don't want to sift through everything. This is the best place to start, is our subject guides. You'll notice the way we created them is exactly the way you would find your program. So for example, if you're in, I know we've got the business guys here, so let's do that. If you're in entrepreneurship, it'll take you directly to the guide that will help you best with all of your entrepreneurship and business related needs. It also gives you links to the common services that we have as well. In addition, every subject area has a library staff member who focuses on that area and can help you with it. In this case, it's Matt. So when you go into these subject guides, you'll learn about these people. You'll learn about what you can find for your course. And that should be able to help you quite well. In addition to the individual subject guides, we've got some general resource help. A big one for our students is citation. So here we have how to avoid plagiarism. That's a hot topic. And then we have APA, the online modules on how to use all of these citation methods as well. So I've got 2 minutes left. I just saw an email from Howard, and I wanted to show you how you can get to the academic drop-in support and the peer tutoring support. If you find that you're struggling in a course, please let somebody know, whether it's your faculty member or come to us here at the library. You can click on this academic support and it'll actually take you to the support sessions that we offer online in math, science, writing, and ESL. They run all day long, 8:30 till 4:30, and we have staff members who will help you with problems that you might be having within your courses. It's conducted via Collaborate, so you actually screen share and get to discuss things with them. In addition, you can even try a group session if you like, if you feel more comfortable with other students, and multiple people can join at the same time. For peer tutoring, we have two options. Maybe you're really strong in a course and you'd like to pick up some extra cash. You can become a peer tutor and work with us. We teach you how to be a tutor in an online environment. And we also have the option if you need a tutor. So this can be done in a group environment as well. I find the group learning sessions are much better because then again, you develop that group or the circle of friends that will help you get through a course. Sometimes just studying with someone is all you need. You may not even need the help with the content. You need the help with people who will help you to stay motivated. And the very last thing I wanted to say, and it's about that motivation piece and about the groups, you can actually book an online study room via the library. This is a great little resource that we've put together. It becomes a study room that you guys can work together in via Blackboard Collaborate, again, something you'll already be using. You can come together, book a room, know you'll meet at a specific time. This falls in line with time management, so you're all on the same page, get together, do some work, and develop that group of friends to get you through the semester. Okay, I ran through that very quickly. Again, the first thing you need to know, maybe the only thing you need to know right now, Google Niagara College Library. Okay, we can't wait to see you with some of our online sources.
Thank you so much, Gordana. I really appreciate that. And just for anybody who might have missed something or felt that that went a little bit fast, just remember, we do have a Q&A session afterwards. Plug in your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be able to continue to ask questions if you missed anything from Gordana and the rest of our team. Before we switch over to John and John, I just want to quickly give a shout out to Phil Hayes and Stephanie Elia. So if you two would mind just sort of popping on and saying hello and introducing yourselves.
Hi,
hey, Phil.
Hey guys. Thanks for everyone for participating. This has been a great session so far.
Thanks for joining us, Phil. And Phil, what's your position at the college?
I'm the Associate Director of Student Recruitment for the college, and I'm joined with my colleague Stephanie Alia, who's here, and we are more than happy to help answer any questions and follow up with one-on-one discussions.
Excellent. So just remember, this whole session is geared towards both international and domestic students. So all Niagara College students, we're here to be able to help and support you. And so we do have all the different services here available to be able to answer your questions. So please stay tuned, stay online, and plug in your questions so that we're able to respond to you and make sure that you get all of your concerns and questions and everything else that you could possibly imagine answered. So thank you so much, guys. I'm going to now flip it over to John Levy and John Hilbing. And if you guys don't mind just quickly reintroducing yourselves for those of you, for our attendees who joined a little bit later and missed the initial introductions. And then I'll turn it over to you.
Go ahead, John.
So I'm John Hilbing, the Associate Director of Client Support Services, and I'm going to be providing a demo shortly on some of our technology options.
Yes, and I'm John Levy. I'm the Chief Technology Officer, and what I thought I'd do is fly through very quickly a PowerPoint that we did a little while ago. Hopefully you guys can see my screen, I hope, Howard.
Yep, we see it. Screen? That's perfect. Okay. IT for International Student Success.
Perfect. So what we're going to do is just fly through this presentation, but just as a point, we did spend quite a bit more time on this last week. So if you want to go to, there is a YouTube link, and hopefully we can post that, or it's very easily accessible to you, and you can get much more detail than what we're going to cover right now. So as we mentioned, computer technology minimum requirements, we're recommending a Microsoft Windows 10 system. And the reason being, most of our software works with Windows 10, and you should have no trouble downloading it and actually executing our lab software remotely if you actually have to do that. These are the minimum requirements. I don't want to get into very much of it, except what's really, really important is you have to have internet. I'm going to mention that a few times during this presentation. You have to have decent internet to be able to participate back and forth, watch videos. If they keep being broken up, you're going to have a really difficult experience. So I can't express that too much. We are recommending 5 megabits per second internet connection for yourself. So if you have 3 people in your house, you're going to need about 15 megabits per second to make sure that you're properly supported, or that you have at least 5 megabits available to yourself. Anyways, that's one way of testing your line, is to go to fast.com and actually run their speed test, and you could actually see how much bandwidth you actually have at home. A couple of little things very, very quickly. You need your user code and password. It's incredibly important that you remember your password, otherwise you'll be interacting with our IT service desk, and I'll show you where you get that in a second. But the big point for us with resources at the college is portal nc.niagaracollege.ca will basically have a link to everything you think you need for support. As far as technical support or access, and all of the links are going to be available for you there. I won't talk too much about Apps Anywhere right now, other than Apps Anywhere allows us, since you can't come on campus to sit in our computer labs, it allows you to take most of our software and actually download it and run it on your home computer as if you were sitting in our computer labs. So if you need to get to files that they've actually posted at the college, we've set it up so that when you run our application on your own computer, you're actually accessing the files at the college back and forth. So you have a real environment, like I said, as if you're sitting there. When we can't provide you with that software, we've got another way, like Linda mentioned, that you'll be able to actually remotely connect to one of the computers at the college and actually run on that computer, and that software is Splashtop. And John We'll give you a really quick overview of that in a minute. If you don't have the minimum requirements, and like I said, internet is absolutely required, what you can do is connect up with Splashtop if you've got a Macintosh or an Apple-based computer, or you have a Chromebook. You can connect on to our lab computers, and they're using Splashtop, and you will be able to actually run the software at the college, so it's not running on your own computer, and all you're doing is interacting back and forth with that college computer. Our IT service desk is available. There are multiple ways of getting to it. This is our website. It has all the technical information that we have available. At the time, it tells you whether systems are up or down. It lets you interact with us. We are now using email. We're also have a web service, or sorry, a chat service that'll be up very soon. The one thing that we ask you, especially if you're international, if you're an international student, please make sure you provide your phone number and tell us where you are in the world, because some of the prefixes for international are a little bit different. If you can help us out by providing that to us, or at least a location so that we can get the phone number right. The other thing we like to know is, or that we need to know where you are, is we'll try to call you at a reasonable time, or you can tell us what a reasonable time is. So we're not calling you at 4 o'clock in the morning with a call back because it's convenient for us. We'll do the best we can to accommodate people learning from places other than our own time zone. So with that, I'm going to just bring this down and stop sharing. I know that's very, very fast. There is a whole presentation on all this information. I'm going to hand it over to John Hilbing, and he can actually take you through the demo.
Hi again. Just bear with me 1 minute or so, a few seconds while I share my screen. All right, so hopefully everyone is able to see my screen at this time. There's 2 quick parts to this demo. I'm going to start off by showing Apps Anywhere, which is our preferred tool for everyone to access college lab software. The link was up on the page previously, but Portal NC, hopefully I typed that correctly. Portal NC is our sort of one-stop shop for everything, kind of the launching pad for what you'll require. Being staff, I have a few other items here, but what you'll see at a very minimum is you'll have 3 items to the left, Apps Anywhere, Blackboard. This is your best way to get into Blackboard. And you'll have another one related to your sort of student account and interactions with the registrars and that, almost like the app that you can also download onto your mobile phone. But for this presentation, we're going to go directly into Apps Anywhere. If you're at home, you're going to have to log in. Either you're going to log in at the portal level and be able to get directly in, or if you do find your way directly to Apps Anywhere, you would be prompted for your Niagara College credentials. John mentioned it a few minutes ago, but it is absolutely important that you keep track of your username and password and make sure that you have that available, because you need it pretty much everywhere. I'm just waiting here. I shouldn't really have this little delay that we're seeing. If you look sort of below, you'll see that there's a wealth of software. I currently have 140 titles, 139 titles published that I can see. Not all students will be given every piece of software. Some of these are very much course or program specific. Some of them have other requirements, like in a few cases, like the Adobe products, they can only be used on site. And typically they're only, again, required in the specialty labs. I'm just going to try this again here. I hope we're not running into a technical glitch outside of my control.
Keep in mind that we're still developing this because it's right before the beginning of term, and I'm not trying to make excuses if it's taking a minute, but there we go. I think we're in better shape now.
Well, we'll see, because I shouldn't have to do this, but okay. Worst case, we'll give up on my computer because this is being done on my personal computer, but we'll give this a real quick try, and then we'll move on to the Splashtop portion. I did actually go through and test this just a few minutes before the presentation started today, but as John mentioned, we're very actively working on publishing more software and doing things to get the environment up and running and finalized.
This may be a really good pause for a moment just to be able to address some of the questions I'm seeing in the Q&A. And so if you take a look in the chat, those of you who would like to see the full version of ITS technology support from last week, we have an 1.5 hour long session that we conducted last Friday. It is posted on our Niagara College International YouTube page. It's applicable for both domestic students and international students, so please feel free to go there. And that is located in the chat box, as well as registration for the orientation. So please feel free to pop in there too, to be able to take a look at it. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, John.
I am just trying, we'll try Firefox and see if that works a little better for me. And then, as I mentioned, we'll move on to the Splashtop portion of the demo. I'm just getting a 2-factor authentication prompt here. Should be just a second.
Students wouldn't normally see this. This is for the administration.
And sorry for the delay. We should be a few seconds here. So it's even possible I made a mistake in my Chrome browser, but it has worked this time. So typically, and again, this will be a repetitive process, because what we would like to promote is that this is your app launcher for all the apps that you're going to have access. And this is applicable if you're trying to run these directly on your home computer. And it's also applicable if you're in a situation where you need to use the secondary tool Splashtop. All the apps are coming from the same place in most of the situations. So just to kind of demonstrate, I'm going to launch one app real quick. And I am working from home, so my connection as well is at play here. And things take a little bit longer to get up and running. Oh, great. Let me try one more, and then we're going to give up and assume that this is more about my personal computer, which I can hopefully show you in a few minutes by going to, so we're going to try Handsoft, which is one of the applications used in our gaming labs. And it is running correctly. And what we're going to see here is this little cloud paging player is critical to what you're doing. It sort of tracks the software that's been brought down to your computer and the progress of things. So this one has already gone through a couple of its steps. It's saying it's ready, but what is in fact happening is it's streaming down more of the installer application. And in a few seconds, I should get the typical splash screen to have the application finish loading. And then within a few more seconds, I should actually have the application fully up and running so that I can use it. And just kind of while we're going through that, you'll see, and in some cases, you'll probably recognize some of these apps, but FileZilla is a file sharing app. You know, there are various titles that are very specific to your courses. Oh, and here we go. We have, okay, so I actually picked an application that has some additional requirements. In this case, it needs access to one of the gaming servers. So me not being an actual member of the gaming program, I'm not going to be able to go any farther. But what I would like to show you is you saw that that was probably about 20 seconds to load that to that point. What I'm going to do, you'll note that I now went through my start menu, and Handsoft is available in my start menu. If I choose to open it that way, it's available through the app portal, but it's also available in the cloud paging player. And I just really want to show you that on second launch, we're going to get to that window. You see how quickly that window came up the second time? And that is because the application has now been brought down to your computer and it is available to run locally. In most cases, again, this is our preferred method of accessing the software because it allows you to run it on your computer. And depending on the internet requirements of the application itself, it isn't as taxing as having to necessarily run Splashtop or a true virtual session. So, and in a lot of cases, the software runs completely on your computer and doesn't even need an internet requirement after you get it launched the first time. And there is typically a subsequent check-in every time you launch it. So the cloud paging player does a real quick check, identifies that you're running the current version, the version that we want you to be running, or if there are updates, it may download again. So in short, to wrap this part of the demo up, again, this is your app catalog, and you're going to see me launch it again real quickly when I go into the Splashtop app. So the second piece of the remote access tools that we're offering is a piece of software from a vendor called Splashtop, and it is a remote access tool. So there will be a lot more computers available when you go to start logging in, but you will see something like this where it's general workstations at Niagara College. Those of you who are in courses that have special needs, again, our gaming program is one of those. Graphics design, I don't have any Macs published here, but if you need access to a Mac environment for graphics design or some of the other programs, the broadcasting program is another one. You would have access to a special pool of computers that are Macintosh. I'm going to launch this because there will be about a 40-second delay once I get past the login screen, because it is, as you'll see shortly, it's taking me directly to a computer at Niagara College running in one of our labs, and subsequently you have to log into it just like you would if you were on campus. This is a direct sort of access option to a lab computer, no different than if you sat down at the mouse, keyboard, and monitor in one of our labs. And as I mentioned, it's going to have a bit of a delay as it goes through the login sequence. This will happen every time, but it should typically be 30 to 50 seconds max for the login. And just while we're waiting for that, I'm going to show you just a few of the other pieces of Splashtop. You really don't need to do much unless you're into, again, one of the specialized labs where they might have 2 monitors. You have some controls across the top here. I only have 1 monitor. I'm working off my laptop, but if I had, or sorry, if the machine on the other end had dual monitors, I would have a couple options here to switch to the other monitor to toggle between, that type of thing. So again, for gaming, for computer programmer analyst, and a few other courses, this becomes important because those labs will have dual monitors. In here, there's some other options that if anyone's been involved in, even video conferences and that, you'll see scaling options. In this case, high frame rate is an item that some people would be interested in because it just will improve your experience a little bit. If you're using animation or graphics or high-end audio, that type of thing. And beyond that, most of these options you can explore on your own. File transfer, some other things like that. We do have a user guide that will be published to our ITS website and circulated. Faculty will have access to it as well, and basically to cover off these options a little bit more. So without running the timer on that, I do believe that was around a minute or a little bit less than a minute to get logged in. And now this is a college desktop, as I mentioned, in our lab, and I'm going to go back to Chrome, and we're going to launch Chrome, and what I'm hoping is going to happen is it's going to take us directly to the portal. Oh, it's actually taken us directly into Apps Anywhere with the portal being opened. I just need to click this button. And you can see the portal has popped up as well, the exact same portal that I have on my computer when I log in. And Apps Anywhere here as well is the same look and feel. The one thing I didn't show before is the search capability. So I have over here, we have a search capability, and if I want to find that piece of software, Audacity, which is the one I tried to launch before, you can see I have it here, and very quickly, almost like a Google search, it basically came up very quickly. I do want to note too, this little star in the top corner, I can toggle that on and off, and I have a favorite section here. So while it does seem like there's a huge amount of software here, you do have the ability to flag some of them as favorites for yourself. So Audacity is close by. We're going to launch that quickly. And you'll see, and in this case, it should load very quickly because I'm sitting, again, on a college computer right now, running it from the college computer. And the same thing happens at this point. that software is on my computer, so I can find it through the start menu. I can relaunch it from the little launcher and the cloud paging player. And again, if I need additional software, I'm going to try one of the AutoCAD apps just because it's a little bit bigger application. So it's going to take a bit longer to load. And I'm going to show you one or two other things on the college computer while we wait for that to load. So AutoCAD is a very large application. It's 15 gigs. Again, this is typically targeted towards our technology programs, where in some cases the students will have college issued laptops of their own, or they would be expected to use Splashtop and they'd be accessing it here. And as you can see, this one is giving a little bit more of a status because it's going to take quite a bit longer to download. While we're waiting to see if that can complete during my window of time, I did want to show you that one of the most critical things we would suggest is that you leverage OneDrive. So all students at Niagara College have access to a copy of Microsoft Office, including email and OneDrive with a terabyte of storage that you can download to and use at your house or at your home. And then basically it interacts with our systems here at the college. So when I log in, I think I ran the browser before it got a chance to show you, but when I logged into the computer, it actually, the way I'm set up is I share my desktop icons in OneDrive. So they showed up and followed me to my computer. But for most of you, you're going to see that documents can be your OneDrive documents. Your full OneDrive, sorry, mouse issue there. Your full OneDrive folder can be made available on this computer and it will automatically map. So if you leverage OneDrive at home to upload any files you're working on, personal, school related, doesn't matter. But if you leverage that 1 terabyte of space that you're being given while you're a student at Niagara College, it will help you in terms of moving files back and forth when you need them, you know, whether it be through Splashtop or in some cases even just as a storage location so it's not on your personal computer. And you can see behind the scenes here, AutoCAD has now loaded. And I'm just going to close it down. It may actually still be doing part of the load. And again, this is the same sort of scenario that when you go to use it the first time, it takes a little bit longer. The labs are configured. The lab computers are configured so it keeps track of frequently used software. Yeah, it's still in the process of loading right now. It keeps track of frequently used software, and it will kind of do that second launch, quicker performance boost without you necessarily having to wait quite as long to get it going. Yeah, it's still in the process of loading right now. So again, this is a very large app, and not everyone will use it, but it does kind of reflect the type of capability we have here, that all software. Yeah, see, now it's made it that far. And again, what I just wanted to show quickly by picking one of these larger apps is the concept that on second load, we're going to see this load very quickly. It's still a big app, so it's still going to take 15 or 20 seconds to get going, but as opposed to the 3 or 4 minutes that it took the previous time. And you can see splash screen's already there, and in another 10 seconds or so, the application should be loaded. And the final thing that we would mention, just as we wait for that to finish, is this computer is set up as well so that if by some chance your connection is disconnected, we do have these computers in a shared computer mode, and your data, your access is essentially wiped when you log off properly. But it is configured in such a way that if you have an internet issue, if you have a wobble where, you know, maybe your router needs a reboot, you're back on in 2 minutes or something like that, you will be able to reconnect to the same session and continue on. You won't lose anything as long as you can get back on fairly quickly. But that again just goes to stressing the point that you need to be saving your files, especially if you're using Splashtop and working on one of our lab computers. Get in the habit of keeping it all in OneDrive, or perhaps you have a different storage method, you have a Dropbox account or something, but we would recommend the free OneDrive option. And just make sure you are saving, because again, there are circumstances, which I'm sure many of you have run into, where data can be lost if you're not keeping it saved. The final piece again is proper log off I was going to show you. So you do have the Splashtop interface running, but what we're going to be encouraging and asking is basically you restart the computer, and that just reclaims it or refreshes it for the next student to connect to. And I'm just going to close that as well. And you'll see here, I only brought up a couple computers in one of our test areas, but you can see there are actually 2 other people working on them, and they finished now. So when I refresh, they were on before and they're off now, and those machines have been published back into the pool for others to use. The final thing that John had mentioned that I would like to cover really quickly is IT support. So ITS does have its own webpage where we offer a fair bit of information, its.niagaracollege.ca. It can be found through the regular college website as well, and there are links on Blackboard in various places. Contact info for the service desk is down the right-hand side. We do have a bit of a status indicator bar that we display as well. Right now, we don't have phone service running in the normal fashion on campus, so it's showing partially offline. But this will typically show some of the statuses. Email is for students is one of the preferred methods. We are just about to launch a chat service for students, and that's particularly applicable when you're looking at password-related issues or challenges like that. There won't be a requirement to log into it, and if you need a password reset, we often need to have you validate identity in that, or sorry, we always need to have you validate identity, but that often means you're going to have to get on a phone call with us. So that type of information, the chat details, will start to show up on this page here. It'll be published in a few other places so that you have a direct line. There will be a queue, obviously, so you'll have to be a little bit patient, but a direct line to IT support during our normal operating hours. And for anything outside of our operating hours, we would be recommending email or potentially logging a ticket with us, and we would follow up with you in the next business day. And in some cases have to arrange a time similar to what you've heard before, a time when we can actually deal with you or correspond with you directly. So Howard, I think that's it for the demo.
And so just in summary, if you can download the software onto your computer, use apps anywhere. If you need to connect up to us, you would use Splashtop, and we do have IT support, and we do have a lot of people that are on IT support. You have both email and you have the chat functionality that'll be there in another week, and you'll be able to interact with us, and we'll be able to help you out if you have any trouble. Otherwise, work with your academic groups. We'll actually instruct you on exactly where the software is, and they should be able to provide you more detail if there's anything special about the individual software applications that you're going to be using. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Howard.
Not much, Johns. That was fantastic. And actually, it was really representative of, you know, some of the challenges that students may face by using their own personal computers and being able to log into the system and access those resources. And as you can all see, it is all navigable. That's a big word.
Keep in mind, Howard, we are still working on doing a live demo with real systems that are actively being developed. So to be fair, it'll be a much better experience in another week or so.
Well, and undoubtedly, having worked with you for a while, I've been able to see that, you know, we are all adjusting to transition. Can't wait to see the system fully up and running, but it is a good point. Keep in mind, this was a beta run, but we will have the full alpha run next week. I don't even know if that's a proper term.
No, you do alpha, then beta, then production.
Ah, okay. Okay. I was going backwards. That sounds about right for me.
No problem.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, I do see a lot of questions about approvals in principle and the two-stage visa process and what that means in terms of selecting your timetable and sort of the timing of things for students. So I'm going to dedicate about 5 minutes for Paul Kelly to be able to pop on the line here, just to be able to talk about some recent changes from Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, and to talk about some of the two-stage visa approval process and how you should be selecting your timetable now. And then I'll be able to jump in if there's any questions about deferrals or refunds, but we'll certainly be covering those off in the Q&A session afterwards. So Paul, thank you so much. I'm going to hand you the mantle while I go deal with some some children who are running around my house at the moment for 2 minutes, and then I'll pop back on to be able to assist.
That's okay, Howard. I can hear my kids going up and down upstairs here as well. So apologies if you guys can hear that too on the line. So Howard likes to set me a challenge, 5 minutes to discuss the immigration updates and timetables. I'll do my best to cover the main points. But just very quickly, if you guys missed the start of the presentation, I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Paul Kelly. I'm one of the international student advisors at Niagara College and a regulated Canadian immigration consultant as well. So on the topic of timetables first, I don't want to go over this too much because I believe it was I think it was Damien maybe early on who was talking about how the timetable looks when you've selected a timetable. I just want to touch on that again briefly because I know we've had a lot of questions in the chat today and a lot of questions through email as well about what students can actually see when they have selected their timetable block. And I guess the best way of describing it is like this. When you're looking at your timetable screen, if you are in a fully online and fully asynchronous program, so that means your classes do not have a specific time and date, then they will not show up in what we call the grid view. So the grid view is the grid with the days and the times listed along the top and the side that you would see if you had typically a normal timetable or a regular timetable that you had a class on a Monday morning or on a Tuesday afternoon. Because those classes are online, because they're asynchronous, they can be studied with some flexibility in terms of the timing. You need to scroll down slightly and you will actually see them listed at the bottom in the list view. So they should be still on there. They will show the names and the code and the teacher, but they'll be lower down. So just scroll down a little bit and you'll see them in the list view at the bottom. Some students, I'm very aware, we have students here, domestic, international, some that are in online and some that are on campus perhaps even, or a mixture of both. Some students may have classes that appear in the grid with the times and days. And if that's the case, then that means that class, as our Associate Deans mentioned earlier, has some kind of specific time and date to it in terms of how to access the learning and when to talk to professors. But again, if it's an online class, it will have online listed as the location. So it may appear in the grid as, for example, a Monday at 9 a.m., but the location will be listed as online. So that would be an example of an online synchronous class. And I think Linda as well was talking about this earlier. If anyone is here who has an on-campus class, of course, it's usually a mixture of online and on-campus, so you may be here as well to access the information supports about your online classes too, then you will have a location listed for those classes in the grid view. So you'll have a time and a date and a location, such as a culinary lab or something like that if you're in a culinary class, for example. Again, every student's in a different situation with a different program. If you have any questions or concerns about that, you can reach out to the timetable support team, which is Nicole SOS at niagaracollege.ca. You can have a look on our FAQ on our website. We have a really great full FAQ, and you can reach out to the advisors, for example, myself as an international student advisor, or we have some academic advisors as well for domestic students to reach out to. Very briefly, then, Howard asked if I could talk a little bit about the approval in principle. So just for one moment, I am an international advisor. I'm just going to focus on a very specific group of students here. So talking to primarily the students, our international students who are here for their first term. They're currently overseas. And again, I'm going to say mostly studying in the online programs. So you've got a fully online class, could be synchronous, asynchronous. That doesn't matter too much for this, but you're online, you're overseas right now, you've applied for your study permit. We have a lot of questions about the AIP, or the approval in principle. So to give a little bit of background, a little bit of summary, IRCC, Immigration, Refugees, Citizenship Canada, has introduced a new system for the students applying for the fall 2020 term, where there is a two-stage process to their study permit application. Stage one, if you are successful and pass stage one, you get something called the approval in principle, and then it moves later on to a stage two processing. So at this time, students who have received the AIP are not able to travel to Canada yet at this point. However, you will be confident, hopefully, in starting your studies and studying online. Broadly speaking, we are encouraging all students, whether or not you have yet received your AIP, perhaps you've just applied for your study permit or you applied a few weeks ago and you're still waiting, or whether you have recently received your AIP, to proceed to select your timetable. So if you have enrolled in a program, if you have paid your fees and you're eligible to go into our timetable portal and select your classes, please do so. Howard will speak in a moment about the withdrawal policy very briefly, but what we want to do is to make sure students are as prepared as possible for that term to begin. If you receive your AIP, your approval in principle, at some point in the next few weeks, then you are going to be able to enroll and continue in your program. We don't want you waiting until that point for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to miss out on things like the faculty posting updates and course outlines and things to Blackboard, because you're not going to have your timetable, you're not going to have access to that information. So we don't want you to miss that. We want you to pick your timetable, get your classes loaded in Blackboard, be able to access the information as soon as it's posted by faculty. And the second thing is, we don't want you to miss out on the best choices in terms of enrolling in the classes. So if there is some flexibility about classes, then we want you to pick your timetable as soon as possible and get the best choice possible. As Howard will mention in a moment when I pass it back, there are some key dates and some information to know about if you are not able to get your AIP and you want to defer your program or something like that. But for now, if you have paid, if you're enrolled, we would like you to pick your timetable and enroll, get access to the information, continue to join these sessions such as the one we have today. We've mentioned it a few times, but I think it's important to say again, we record these sessions. Last week, the John and John did a fantastic, very detailed presentation on technology. These are all recorded, and I would say the best place to get them is in the BNC Ready app. The BNC Ready app really is your go-to place to kind of begin your journey to find this information. So download the app on your phone, watch the recordings if you're not able to join them live, but select your timetable. And then Howard, I think I'll pass it back to you if that's okay, and you can add a little bit of explanation about those dates that are important. And I'm going to also just post in the chat here a link to our fall key dates. So I'll do that right now. So that should come through in the chat. And on that website, you can see dates such as the last day to enroll and pick timetables and the last day to withdraw.
Thank you so much, Paul. And thanks for passing it over. I do want to reiterate those key dates. If you are paid and have selected your program and eligible to pick a timetable, do so immediately. Do so today. Once you get off this call, once you get off the Zoom session, pick your timetable block, make sure that you've done so. Remember that because, especially those who are doing courses online or programs online, inside your timetable, after you've selected your block, after you've selected your section, you will not necessarily see your classes in your timetable. What you'll see if you scroll down the page is at the bottom of it, a list of the courses you are enrolled in. And that is because of asynchronous versus synchronous delivery. So remember, going back to Justin, Damien, and Linda's conversation about synchronous versus asynchronous, if it is asynchronous, you are going to get the week's worth of materials to be able to do your learning from, and you're expected to be able to complete those, but there's not a specific time that you have to attend a class per se. Some of your teachers may notify you of a specific time and day where they will do some synchronous delivery, but overall your courses will be done in an asynchronous fashion, meaning time zones don't matter. Okay, so that's very, very important. The other thing is, if you don't have your approval in principle yet, and that's what's stopping you from picking your timetable, don't let it stop you. If you don't have access to your courses, you don't have access to your book lists that you have to purchase. You don't have access to your technology that you need to be able to get familiar with and download onto your computers. So if you don't do those things, you don't have access to all of that material. It's also really important because it allows you to be able to make sure that you're in the classes with your friends, things like that. The longer you delay, the less options you actually have. You have until September 22nd to withdraw or defer. So what that means is if you don't get your approval in principle by September 21st, most of you are in a time zone that is anywhere from 6 to 13 hours ahead of us here. So if you don't have your approval in principle by September 21st, then you can't continue with your program. Then it's up to you to notify us that you haven't received your approval in principle and that you would like to either withdraw or more preferably defer the start of your term and your program to the next semester. Now, some of you are saying that your program's not available in January. That may be true. We don't offer all programs for every single term. At that point, you have two options. You can request an alternative program, and our staff are more than happy to help guide you through that process of learning about those programs and what the alternative choices are, about the career options, etc. That will support you in making that decision. Or you wait until the next term that that program is available. And that may be in May, it may be in September. You may also find that many January programs are closed now or waitlisted. Another really important reason why you want to be able to pick your timetable now, and you want to give yourself as much flexibility as possible to be able to study in the fall term rather than delaying to the January term. If you delay to the January term, you may find that your program, even if it is offered at that time, is now full. There is an incredible amount of demand for January as we ramp up for hopefully being able to welcome you back on campus, but that will always be dependent on travel restrictions and our public health authority and what we have to do to be able to keep you, our staff, and our community safe, which is the exact type of environment you want to be able to come into. So thank you again, Paul. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our panelists. And what I'll do is I'll now start opening it up to a Q&A session. So the first one is probably...
Could I just jump in for a couple of points
Sure.
there? Sorry, I'm derailing you slightly there. There's a couple of really important questions I just noticed that I think would be great just to head off right now. One about the timetables and Blackboard, and one about the immigration piece, just whilst we're on that topic. So a couple of students asking about Blackboard, and I know that John did a great presentation about technology, and again, go back and watch last week's presentation as well. But just a reminder, Blackboard is our primary online learning platform. Even if you were in campus here normally, we'd be using Blackboard as our learning platform. So from there, that's where you're going to access most of your key information, be able to contact your professors, download things like your teaching and learning plans. So Blackboard is our primary place to start for that, but there is a little piece of information to know, which is Blackboard doesn't always update immediately after selecting your timetable. So a question I often get from students is, I just picked my timetable, nothing is on Blackboard yet. Please wait at least 1 or 2 days for Blackboard to update. And at the start of term, we're still a couple of weeks before this term really gets going, sometimes the courses do not open this early. So your professors, the technology department will be opening those courses soon if they haven't done already. So don't panic. If you've picked your timetable and the course is not showing on Blackboard yet, don't panic. If it's in your timetable, you're fine. It will get there. It will appear on Blackboard when it's opened up by the professor. They're probably just updating the information for the fall term and making sure everything's accurate for moving forwards. The second piece was a lot of questions, students asking about if you pick a timetable and then you have to defer, does that affect your study permit application and things like that? Broadly, the answer is no, it does not. Your study permit application, if you've submitted it, whether you have the AIP already or not, will continue to be processed by IRCC. However, if you do defer your studies, so if you end up not studying in the fall, but studying, for example, deferring to the winter term, for example, you will need to update your application with IRCC. So if you have an agent or a consultant that you've used for your application for a study permit, you will need to make sure they update your file for you. If you are doing it yourself, then you will need to use the IRCC web form to do that yourself. And we can guide you if you have any questions, you can reach out. But that would be if you defer your program, you would need to update it. If you start your studying and things like that, no, that does not affect your study permit application. It will continue to process. Thank you, Howard.
Thanks, Paul. And actually, it reminded me that for those of you who do have an approval in principle now or are getting one shortly, and you start your studies, please be aware that we have implemented an addendum to our withdrawal and refund policy for stage 2 refusals. So in the case that you're refused under stage 2, provided it's not because you had an existing criminal record or an existing health concern that would mean that you would already know that you wouldn't qualify for a final study permit, provided it's some other reason, you would certainly be able to apply for a refund and withdrawal, and we would give you a full refund less $200. The due date for doing that withdrawal is November 1st, so that's very generous. It gives you an extra month and a half to be able to go through that process and hopefully receive your stage 2 approval. And if you don't receive any answer by then please contact us by November 1st so that we can defer your program to the next available start. Okay, and then we can pull you out of the program at that point. But we really want to give you as many opportunities to be able to study with us as possible as soon as possible. All right, so Paul, are we good to open up Q&As? All right, so I'm going to open up a couple Q&As. I saw a few interesting questions, and I will ask that all of our panelists also take a look at the questions, question and answer box to be able to identify if there's anything that I'm missing here. So I am seeing from Malvin Jenny that he is having problems opening his apps anywhere and wants to know how he can sign in.
Yep, I can take that, Howard. I'm just replying back to him that he can email itservicedesk@niagaracollege.ca, and we have help desk representatives that can help him out, or he can go to the website that we mentioned, its.niagaracollege.ca, and there is documentation on Apps Anywhere and Splashworks that you can work through and do some local diagnostics first, possibly. But otherwise, like I said, email itservicedesk@niagaracollege.ca for our technical support.
Thanks, John. Sorry, I was a little delayed in popping back in here. I was just popping that answer into the chat. So if you want to be able to find the email, you'll find it in the chat box. Thank you, John. I have another technology question, which is, how can I use my iPad Pro? And another person had asked, can they use their iPad Air 2 for their online classes?
Okay, I'll take that again. You can do some things on an iPad. Certainly you have a browser on it that you would be able to connect and be able to connect up to Blackboard. You can probably, in most cases, view all of the videos. You can probably even download some of the Microsoft Office applications. Although being an Apple computer, it's going to be slightly different than a PC-based Word and PowerPoint. So your experience may be slightly different. What you can do, if I remember right, and this is something that John Hilbing will have to help me out on, is we should be able to bring in, you should be able to use Splashtop on that iPad. If I remember right, connect up to a computer at the college and then fully utilize the software remotely. And John, please feel free to correct me if I've said something absolutely technologically impossible.
Hey, so no, that is correct. My biggest concern with devices like iPads or Android tablets is the keyboard kind of angle. So if you have a keyboard, mouse not as important because it's touchscreen, but the keyboard and the amount of typing and things like that. And also Splashtop is your avenue. If you're using an iPad or an Android tablet, there is an app. Experience will be fine, not much different than a PC, but you have to remember you're going to be connecting to a full-blown Windows computer or possibly a full-blown Mac computer in the lab, and that they do have keyboards. So, you know, in addition to just any typing work that you would need to do for your curriculum in whatever app you're using locally on the iPad Pro 2, it's going to be that angle of running a virtual keyboard potentially, unless you actually have or purchase a physical keyboard. Now, I do know there are obviously multiple brands and options available to get keyboards, but that would be my recommendation. If you're going to try to use something other than a Windows PC or even a Mac laptop or desktop, I would suggest you find yourself a keyboard, and then you should be fine. I apologize, John, but I do kind of want to go back on the Apps Anywhere question for a second. We are actually just prior to launching it to students. So we're hoping to have it out Monday, maybe not until Wednesday. The platform is fine. The issue really is just that we need to put some licensing restrictions in place for some of the software. Like I'd mentioned, Adobe Creative Cloud, our license is site-wide, but it can only be run on campus. We have not put those measures in place because we're trying to get as many apps developed as possible, but we are committed to having it available for the students to log into, both that and also Splashtop, hopefully by Wednesday of next week, so they have some time to get a head start and become comfortable.
Fantastic, thank you. The next question is from Oppo A31, and it's actually not a question, it's more of a statement, but it leads to a question. This is for our academic areas here. It's, hello, we've paid a lot not to get asynchronous or recorded classes. So it's really questioning what is the difference of quality and experience. And I know we talked about this quite extensively, but if we could just do a quick highlight about what students typically gain from the online classes and the delivery that we're doing at Niagara College, and what are we doing very briefly to be able to make that experience as conducive as possible to their learning experience.
Damien, you want to go first?
Sure, Justin. So I'll repeat something that I said earlier in my presentation. The content you're going to get is exactly the same online as it would be in the classroom. The skills and knowledge from a talented teacher with work experience and educational credentials is exactly the same that you would get in a traditional classroom that you're going to get online. So what education is all about is knowledge transfer, and that's going to be exactly the same. You're going to get that same quality education. What I would actually say to you, particularly if English is your second language, that you're going to get a value-added experience by it being online. And the reason why it's value-added is that teachers will be recording their presentations if that is one of the modes that they're going to use for delivery. And you'll be able to watch that over and over again to master the content. If this was a traditional classroom environment, you walk into class, 8:30 in the morning, finish at 11:30. If you were daydreaming, if you didn't take notes, if your cell phone got in the way of your learning and you decided to get on this thing and you missed the content, there's no way to go back to that information. There's no way to go back to what the teacher said and recapture it unless you speak to some classmates who maybe took some good notes, or maybe they were distracted by this little machine here too. So you can actually go back to content. You can revisit it. You can try to master it. I will also share with you something that Gordana said on twofold. One, your teachers are ready to support you. If you have an issue, speak to us. Linda talked about communication and how it's key, and we will be responsive to that. But also Gordana talked about all the resources that are available to you that will be moving online. So you'll get that help. You'll get peer tutors that are going to be there for you. You're going to be able to access the information that you need in terms of the library, because they're ready to support you more so on a customized individual basis than maybe what we've done in the past at Niagara College. So I would actually say that you're going to get some value-added experience by being online, and it's giving us as educators a moment to pause and think, why haven't we been doing some of these things in the past to enrich the experience for students? So that would be my best answer at this time. I'll give it to Justin, who's our dean, to maybe finish it off.
Thanks, Damien. Yeah, and I agree 100% with everything that you've said. For those of you who are on LinkedIn, I did just post an article this morning on online learning, and there's been a lot of analysis and research into this. Essentially, it comes down to the design of the course and how that impacts your learning outcomes in the course. And the results are very clear. Our courses are well designed. They're homogeneous in that everybody has gone through some of the same training to make sure that the courses are easy to navigate and that you will receive the exact same learning objectives and learning outcomes as you would if you are in an in-person course. I think the other thing that's really important to note, and I will reiterate, the connectivity issue. You're able to reach out. That's one of the benefits of Niagara College. We keep our classes small. You have even online classes, they're very small. We have students, around 35 students per class. So you have the ability to really engage not only with your faculty, because your faculty you will find very accessible, very responsive to email or chat. You also have the opportunity to engage with your fellow students. Like Gordana, I did, my MBA was a hybrid delivery. I did some of it in person and I did some of it online. And my teammates were in Singapore, Japan, New York, and across the States. So it was really a fantastic experience, because even though we were doing synchronous delivery at that time, we still were able to come together as a team. We still had a great degree of interactivity. Faculty were very, very responsive. So I just want to iterate, very similar in terms of course content, identical in terms of course outcomes. The education that you will receive is the exact same quality as if you were sitting in a classroom. And I think it's a big switch. I think we really have to think as students and as participants that we have to treat this just like it's a classroom. This computer screen is your classroom for the next little while. And like we said before, take it as seriously, and as much as you put into it, you will get out of that learning experience.
And if I can just add to that, from a business side of things, businesses have now transitioned to online as well, all around the world, meaning that borders are open, that companies are able to hire and contract employees from all over the world rather than being restricted to those that are located near them. Think of the classroom now and your classroom experience now as preparation for the workforce, because just like the learning environment, the workforce will also never be the same again. And we know this. We know that the world is transitioning to more virtual, and that we are looking for more global workforce and globally competent employees and students. And with that, just a quick plug for my colleague Maxine on Be World Ready. Niagara College is renowned for its Be World Ready program, instilling global competencies in the classroom and instilling them abroad for all students everywhere. Thanks, Paul, for that little flash up of the t-shirt as well, but I just wanted to put that plug in there for Maxine. Gordana, to be able to build on some of the comments from Justin and from Damien, can you just quickly reiterate where students can go on the library resources to be able to learn about online learning and some of the support systems? Can you just provide us with a quick update of the web page and what modules they should possibly look at? I know you've got a great module that you've put out there for students to be able to get them acclimatized, and so that would be wonderful if you could share that.
Sure. You actually want me to go to a screen share, Howard?
Sure, if you want to pop that up just so students can see exactly where it is, that'd be wonderful. And if you could also add copy the website into the chat box for everybody to be able to see.
I think somebody wonderfully who's working in the background has added that link, and I appreciate their work. Thank you so much, whoever that was, that wonderful person. And
thank you, Jonathan.
Yes. So here we go. Here's the, again, to get to this website, really easy. Just Google Niagara College Library and Dead Center. We have our online learning supports website. So here we have all of the links from all over the Niagara College website. We've pulled them together and we put them into one convenient page. So this is great for staff too, quite frankly, so that they can find everything all in one spot, including all the great stuff that we've gotten from ITS, from admissions. They've all worked with us on this. So we've pulled it all together. Blackboard help, links to videos on how to use Collaborate, how to submit a journal or submit assignments. So you're never really alone in an asynchronous environment. You can always go here. In addition, if you're not into the links and you want to use something that's a little more methodical, we have the Online Learning Supports Handbook. And that's like reading a book. So you can literally go through it chapter by chapter, getting started, getting help at NC libraries, getting help from student services. It's just full of information, including working with teams, working in email and in Blackboard. So there's so much information here that it is a little overwhelming right now. I fully concede that. But once you're in the course and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm having a hard time with Collaborate, but I do remember that there's help that we can get. Get onto the library's chat and talk to us. We'll direct you to these learning supports. That's why I really wanted to make sure that you guys knew how to Google Niagara College Library. Once you get there, you get to the chat, and we'll connect you to the information that you need for your online learning. Okay, Howard, I know there's probably a lot to go on to, so I'll stop share now. Is that kind of what you wanted to see?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I do have a couple quick comments. For those of you who are not able to access Google in your countries, typically this is China, you will also be able to find this on Baidu.
Thanks, Howard. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries at all. It's tough to keep track of everything everywhere around the world. The other thing that I just quickly wanted to touch on, I did see a couple of questions about textbooks. It looks like they've been answered in the chat. But quick question, I'll open it up to both Gordana and to our academic areas. Where and when do students find out about what textbooks they have to buy? Are the textbooks available in digital format so that they can access it from anywhere? And if they're not all available by digital format, how the heck do we get them? So I think the first question is really for the academic areas. When are textbooks posted or available for students to see? When will those be up on Blackboard? And maybe Paul can assist with where to navigate to in Blackboard to be able to find your teaching and learning plan and your textbook list. And then Gordana, I'm hoping that you might have a few answers about, you know, how do you buy textbooks online if they're electronic? And if they're not electronic, do we have any resources to be able to assist students in purchasing textbooks and having them shipped?
Paul's going first on this one?
So I would say Justin or Damien or Linda, do you happen to know when the textbook lists will be available on Blackboard?
So a couple things on that. One is, like we talked about before, when you log into your Blackboard site, you will see a list of the courses. Some may be live now. Some may be live on the first day of classes. And in there, you will find something called the Teaching and Learning Plan. And it will be very clear. You'll see a link to your TLP. That'll provide you with a whole bunch of course information. It'll provide you with the schedule of classes. It'll tell you a little bit about some of our operating procedures. It'll answer a lot of questions that you have around some of the course content, but it will also include the textbook information. So you're able to go in there and take a look and identify what your textbooks are. You can go also onto the Niagara College website. If you Google Niagara College Bookstore, you'll be able to take a look there. And on there should be information about your textbooks. So there's 2 or 3 different ways that you can go in. The majority of our textbooks are digitalized, so you'll be able to receive a digitalized textbook. The faculty is also looking at using different types of information, so readings and things like that. That will be all available on your course-specific information page, and that'll be available and provided to you in your teaching and learning plan. Gordana?
Absolutely, Justin. A lot of faculty have reached out to the library while they're creating their courses, and they have been utilizing either library materials. So these will be articles that will be directly linked within the Blackboard course. Another option might be is that they're using some open materials, and this is all available to you. If there are some country limits, I guess, or access issues, I would appreciate if you let your faculty member know, and then this is something we can certainly work through. But as long as you're logging in to the Niagara College Blackboard site and accessing via Niagara College, you should be fine in terms of all of your access issues. That might be more of a tech question for John and John, but I believe that there shouldn't be any access issues at that point for any of the library materials that we have offered. In addition, the bookstore does offer options. If you do require a different format for your textbook, for example, if you require large print because you have accessibility issues, we can definitely also work through that with you through the accessibility office at Niagara College. So they can actually help get alternative formats of published materials for you, or if you require alternative formats for the library materials, that is also available to you as well.
Great, thank you. John, did
Just
you have
a
anything
comment.
to add to it?
Yeah, I was just going to add, and only because I'm acting for my boss this week, and the bookstore is one of the items that we were working through. We do have in curbside pickup where you can order online, and you can pick curbside pickup if you're coming to this country and you're actually going to be here. The bookstore also does do delivery. And they will send books at a distance if you're ordering those, and they're not electronic, so you can get them that way. But when you do go to the bookstore through the Niagara College website, it does ask you whether you're going to be in Welland or whether you're going to be in Niagara on the Lake, whether your courses are in those two locations. So that's important to note, so you select the right campus. But then you're asked about your department, your course, and you can go right down to your program level, and it'll actually tell you which books, as long as the bookstore knows one way or the other. It also tells you about other supplies. If you're going to be in person, you need any personal protective equipment for your programs, and you can pick that up, such as culinary, as an example, with knife sets, if you were actually arriving here. We will also be doing some special bookstore pickups where we're going to be doing some special times and being able to arrange, again, if you're more in person and you need, once you arrive in the country, to make sure that we are taking care of anyone that needs special deliveries while they're either quarantining or if they've already gone through quarantine and they're just participating here, we'll make sure that we can get that out to you.
Great, thank you, John. And just a quick reminder for all of our students, domestic and international, who have received their book lists and they've looked at the bookstore and they're thinking about ordering a shipping of a book there, but they think they might be able to get it in their own country. Please be very, very careful. Make sure that you're looking at the specific edition of the book that you are purchasing. There's no problem with you if you can get it locally, that's great. A lot of the time that can save you a little bit of money, which is fantastic, and we encourage all students to be able to explore their options. But what we really want to do is make sure that you're not buying an outdated book or a newer book that is not being used in the class, because frequently what you'll find is that some of the chapters have changed, some of the content has changed, and if that content or those chapters are referenced in your program, that becomes a bit of a challenge. And to reiterate, yes, they will ship from a distance, meaning that the bookstore has the capability of shipping outside of Canada, if I understood correctly, John. And if that is not the case at any moment, please do contact us and we will work to be able to provide you with a resolution.
I think that's true, Howard, but again, your mileage may vary. The bookstore doesn't fall under me, so I'm just passing on what I believe the conversation we had was.
All right, so we'll try to get that answered fairly quickly for you and try to put it in the chat. If we don't get it answered today, please don't worry, just email us. The international department, you can email at international.niagaracollege.ca. And Phil, if you could pop in and just tell us where domestic students, if they have a question like that, where they could email to get a clear answer.
Oh, thanks, Howard. Yes, for domestic students, you can email either myfuturenc@niagaracollege.ca, or you can also go to visit us, and all of our recruiters have their contact information there and are available. We also do have one-on-one sessions. Stephanie actually is just with some of the students from this session in another session right now, and I'll post the link on there, but feel free to connect with any of the recruiters who can help liaison
with you and provide a little bit of referral services. So we're here to help.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm looking at the Q&As, and I don't see, unless anyone can flag one, questions that are necessarily pertinent for our academic areas or our ITS areas, and we are quite a bit over time. So what I'll ask for the panelists who are listed as hosts or co-hosts, please make sure that you do not accidentally end the session. I'm going to keep the session going for another 20 minutes so that we have time to be able to answer the other 35 questions that are on the Q&A. So I'll ask that our Q&A staff stay on board and keep plugging away at being able to respond to those questions. I'll do the same. Make sure that if you are exiting that you're clicking leave, not end, because you may have that option. Or if you don't have that option, if it only says end, please just mute yourself and stop your video for the next 20 minutes until I end the session. That would be greatly appreciated.
Howard, I just wanted to say goodbye. I have to leave for another meeting, but I just wanted to say thank you for facilitating this. I hope to see everybody at NC soon, whether it's real or virtual. We're looking forward to seeing you, and thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to all of our panelists. If you don't mind just popping your, if everybody can pop their faces on the screen for a moment, just so that our students can see everybody who is participating and helping out. We had over 200 people and individuals pop into the session today, which is a phenomenal turnout, and we'll work very diligently to be able to get your questions answered. Great job to the team for getting over 130 questions answered already and 35 more to go. So thank you so much, everyone.
Nice work.
And great
Thank you.
work
Take
on
care.
everybody. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.